Hello, my name is Omid Fotuhi and I'm a social psychologist working with the Learning Research and Development Center here at the University of Pittsburgh. For decades, I've investigated proven strategies for fostering resilience, well-being, and thriving in competitive domains. In this professional development program, we'll explore one of the most vital, yet often overlooked aspects of success in education: psychological safety. In this training, we'll do a deep dive into what psychological safety is, why it matters, and how you as faculty, staff, administrators, and even students can foster it in your own classrooms and institutions. Psychological safety is more than just a buzzword. It's a crucial element in fostering an environment where people can thrive academically and personally. In this video, we'll unpack the science behind psychological safety, explore its direct impact on learning and well-being, and provide practical strategies that you can implement in your classrooms and institutions. By the end of this session, you'll have a clear roadmap to creating a learning environment where every person feels valued and empowered. Here's what we'll cover today. First, we'll uncover an understanding of psychological safety. We'll do a deep dive into what psychological safety is and why it's essential, grounded in the latest research. Second, the impact of psychological safety on learning and well-being. We'll examine specific studies showing how psychological safety enhances learning outcomes and supports student well-being. Third, practical strategies for creating psychological safety in your environment. We'll share actionable steps that you can take to foster psychological safety in your educational environment, supported by real-world examples. And finally, we'll share a message for students. We'll share some recommendations specifically for students, helping you understand how you can contribute to psychologically safe environments and why it matters for your own success and the success of your peers. Psychological safety refers to both a set of conditions that are internal and external that contribute to the feeling that one is safe. This means that a person believes that they are able to express ideas, ask questions, and admit mistakes without fear of negative consequences. This concept has been extensively researched for decades, with some research advances stemming from Dr. Amy Edmondson at Harvard Business School that reveal the crucial factors for creating environments where students feel secure enough to engage fully in their learning. In a classroom, psychological safety means students feel comfortable participating, even when they're not entirely sure of the correct answer. Edmondson's research, particularly her work on team dynamics in organizations, demonstrates that psychological safety is a key factor in successful group performance. Her findings have been supported in numerous contexts, including at Google's Project Aristotle, which identified psychological safety as the most significant determinant of team success. Google's Project Aristotle studied over 180 teams to understand what made some teams more effective than others. The researchers found that the best performing teams were not those with the highest collective IQ or the most experienced members, but those members were those who felt safe to take risks, voice their opinions, and ask questions without fear of ridicule. This environment of psychological safety was directly linked to improved performance, innovation, and job satisfaction. So, how does psychological safety impact student learning and well-being? Let's explore some of the specific examples and research findings. Amy Edmondson's seminal study in the healthcare industry, where she initially explored psychological safety, revealed that teams with high psychological safety were more likely to report errors, leading to improved learning and performance. In an educational context, this translates to students being more likely to ask questions, admit confusion, and learn from their mistakes, all of which are critical to deep learning. It also contributes to the faculty and staff being able to be more present, leading to better instruction, greater collaboration, and an increased willingness to seek out support when needed. When we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we begin to understand why psychological safety is so crucial for optimal performance. Nestled right after our most primal need for physiological needs is our need for safety. Along with our physiological needs, our need for safety is essential for normal functioning. When a person is seriously injured or starving, we don't expect them to be able to focus and deliver at their top performance. The same is true if a person is worried about their physiological or psychological safety in a particular environment. Indeed, the reason that these needs are organized in a hierarchy is because we cannot expect that our higher order needs such as our need for belonging, esteem, or self-actualization, can be fulfilled until our lower needs are also satisfied. To understand what it feels like, imagine if I were to ask you to hold your breath, and then to hold it for the entirety of this training. Do you think that you would be able to learn anything from this video? Probably not. And that's the same reason why we can't expect anyone to perform at their best when their need for psychological safety has been compromised. The reason we can't function at our full potential when our need for psychological safety is threatened is due to 3 cognitive functional reasons. First one, increased stress. Any experience of threat activates a physiological arousal which, if sustained for long periods, can lead to emotional fatigue. This, in turn, prevents us to be in a calm state necessary to be able to process and learn. Second, cognitive burden. In addition to the emotional toll, there is a cognitive tax that is placed on individuals when navigating potentially threatening situations. Because their mind is trying to understand the cause of that stress, they aren't able to focus on the task at hand, such as learning or performing. Third, increased vigilance. Psychological threat also increases vigilance, which robs us of our ability to focus on the learning in the classroom. These forces undermine performance, compromise well-being, deprive our mental and emotional resources, and corrode our sense of trust of the environment. The reverse can also be true. In a study conducted by researchers at the University of Michigan, classrooms where students reported higher levels of psychological safety saw significantly better academic outcomes. These students were more engaged, participated more in class discussions, and were less likely to drop out. Another study by the University of California, Berkeley, found that students in psychologically safe environments had lower stress levels, better mental health outcomes, and were more resilient in the face of academic challenges. The evidence is clear. When students feel psychologically safe, they are more likely to take on challenges, persist through difficulties, and ultimately achieve higher academic success. But the benefits don't stop there. Psychological safety also fosters a sense of belonging, which is crucial for students' well-being. When students feel that their voices matter, they are less likely to experience anxiety, depression, or other mental health challenges. Now that we understand the importance of psychological safety, let's talk about how you can create it in your classroom or institution. Here are 3 research-backed strategies that you can implement. First, model vulnerability. According to Edmondson's research, one of the most effective ways to build psychological safety is by modeling vulnerability. As educators, you can set the tone by admitting when you don't know something or when you've made a mistake. This openness encourages students to do the same, creating a culture where it's okay to be imperfect. For example, in a study published in the Journal of Educational Psychology, teachers who shared their own learning experiences, including their struggles, saw a significant increase in student participation and engagement. Second strategy, encourage open dialogue. Creating an environment where all voices are heard is essential. Techniques like round-robin participation or using anonymous question submissions can help ensure that everyone has a chance to contribute. In a study by the University of Oxford, they found that classrooms that actively encouraged open dialogue saw a 25% increase in student engagement and a corresponding improvement in academic performance. Third strategy is to provide constructive feedback. Feedback is critical, but it must be delivered in a way that encourages growth. Focus on the effort and the learning, not just the outcome. This approach helps students see mistakes as an opportunity for learning rather than failures. Research by my colleagues, Drs. Jeffrey Cohen, David Yeager, Valerie Prudy-Vons, and others, shows that students who received constructive feedback emphasizing growth showed greater academic improvement and were more likely to take risks in their learning. Combine these strategies, while seemingly simple, can have a profound impact on your students' experiences and success. Remember, fostering psychological safety is an ongoing process that requires consistency and a commitment to building a culture of trust and openness. Now I want to speak directly to you, the students. Psychological safety isn't just something your teachers or administrators create, it's something that you can help build too. When you contribute to a safe and supportive learning environment, you're not only helping yourself, but also your peers. So what can you do? First, remember that your voice matters. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if you're unsure of the answer. Chances are someone else in the room also had that same question. Second, support your classmates. Encourage your team and your peers to take risks. Be respectful of their ideas, and even if you disagree, find some way of engaging them. This kind of mutual respect builds a stronger, more inclusive learning environment. A student from a recent study shared this: "When I felt safe to ask questions, I started to learn more. I wasn't as afraid of making mistakes, and I realized that that's where the real learning happens." You can be part of creating this kind of environment in your classroom. As you go through your classes, think about how you can contribute to a psychologically safe environment. Are you encouraging your peers? Are you speaking up when you need help? Your action can make a big difference in your own success and the success of those around you. As we wrap up, I encourage everyone, educators and students alike, to reflect on what you've learned today. Psychological safety is a shared responsibility, and together we can create learning spaces that empower everyone to succeed. Thank you for joining this session on psychological safety. By fostering an environment where everyone feels safe to take risks and be themselves, we're not just improving academic outcomes. We're building a community where all voices are valued. Let's work together to create a campus where every student feels empowered to thrive. Next, my colleagues here at the University of Pittsburgh will share some of the effective strategies that they have used to support student psychological safety and why they find it useful. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ann Sinsheimer, and I'm a professor of legal writing at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. So at Pitt Law, we've been particularly focused on two types of interventions to promote psychological safety, both designed to normalize the common anxieties that students experience and to humanize students' interactions with peers and faculty. The first approach, more labor-intensive, is a faculty-led discussion. The other approach is an online intervention in the form of a survey. Both styles place students in the role of expert and helper. We'd like to encourage our students to anchor their self-worth in things beyond their performance at a given point in time. For example, grades and interview results. The intervention becomes a means for students to reframe their narrative. For example, they can come to see feedback not as a statement of their worth, but as a necessary step in the learning process, framing grades and interview results as an opportunity to receive valuable feedback that can be used to improve. As they share experiences, students discover that it's normal to feel uncertain at times, part of the process in fact, but it isn't a sign that they shouldn't be studying law. Another example of reframing that Dr. Fatui offers our students as an antidote to FOMO, or the fear of missing out, is the joy of missing out, or JOMO. The process of the discussion-based intervention requires gradually building the level of disclosure. I begin by framing this as a process that I, as a representative of the law school, use to understand current students' experiences. They know me well, but if they didn't, I'd begin with an icebreaker, maybe sharing a guilty pleasure, for example. Then I ask small, easy, engaging questions that don't require too much personal vulnerability. For example, what are the biggest challenges that students might be facing? I move then to more open-ended questions that students can respond to anonymously. For example, what's going well? What's not going so well? What are you feeling about Pitt Law at this moment? I like to use Poll Everywhere, but I've watched others use sticky notes, having students write 3 good and 3 bad experiences on the note with no name attached. I share these responses, sometimes sharing common themes through a word cloud. Once some themes emerge, I invite people to talk, asking if any of the themes relate to their own experiences. Usually this gets people talking. Finally, at the end of the discussion, I shift to what's going well for them or ask them to share their strategies, maybe asking them to provide advice. I share my own experiences, which I believe is crucial. As we are asking them to be vulnerable, we should be willing to be vulnerable too. I thank them for their courage, for sharing their thoughts, and invite them to reach out with any questions or follow-up comments.
Hi, I'm Andrelli St. Val. I am an Associate Professor of Legal Writing at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. An assignment that I like to start the year off with and that helps to foster psychological safety at the outset is the Culture Box assignment. Students are sent the assignment prompt before classes begin. I explain that learning law is like exploring a new culture and that we're going to take time to explore their cultural backgrounds before we explore the legal culture. They are then told to bring 2 to 3 items that represent who they are, what they think about the law, and why they want to pursue a law degree. On the first day of class, I do a short 2-minute introduction, and then we spend the rest of the time with students presenting their culture box. They have 3 minutes each to do so. I tell them to be sure to pay attention to their colleagues because they will turn in a reflection assignment on what they have learned about one another. I start us off by presenting my very own culture box. We do not talk about the syllabus, course assignments, or anything else. The focus is solely on who we are individually and why we are pursuing a law degree. Having students identify their why and saying it out loud to others is empowering. It also helps to set the tone for the class. I am always surprised by how open, honest, and vulnerable students are. This assignment is my absolute favorite way to start the year. In their reflections, students talk about how the assignment helps to reduce some of the stress and anxiety they have about being in such a hyper-competitive environment, how it humanizes them and our class. It also helps to promote psychological safety.